I've tried over 50 different scripts. And what I found works the best is a real human conversation.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the High Level Spotlight Sessions, where we showcase awesome marketers doing awesome marketing. In today's case, we're talking about awesome branding. I'm joined by Victoria Kennedy. She is the CEO of Victoria's PR, a six-figure branding agency helping entrepreneurs get into the top publications within their niche. Victoria, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. It is a pleasure to be here as a Go High Level user.
So first of all, in the notes that I have for the show, it starts with from opera singer to brand expert. Tell me about being an opera singer.
Well, it's not easy. I'll tell you that. So like everybody who's probably listening to this or who's an agency owner themselves, when you grew up, you didn't think, when I grow up, I want to make Facebook ads. And that's what I want to do. You don't grow up thinking that, right? You have these dreams of being an astronaut, of being, an opera singer. And so that was my thing, right? So I wanted to be an opera singer. That was my goal growing up. And I ended up doing it. I was singing in castles and cathedrals all over Europe. I had a #1 hit single. I sang with Andrea Bocelli. Wow. I was living my dreams. I was living wow, I made it. And here's the trouble. Never think you've made it, because the moment you think you've made it and you can relax, that's when things go to crap. Right? So never get too comfortable of now I can relax. You hear a lot of agency owners say, oh, once I reach 50K or 100K, whatever their number is, then I can relax. No, you can't relax, guys. This is your life. This is your job. Anyway, we'll get into that. So there I was on the top of my game thinking that I had made it. And then the government decided to not renew my visa. So I had to come back to America because I was living in Europe at the time, because Europeans like opera more than Americans. So, so I come back to America with no job prospects, right? It's not like opera singing jobs are growing on trees, on every street corner. And I had no skills outside of singing. Right? I wasn't even qualified to work a cash register at McDonald's. I had no life skills. And maybe if you're listening to this, you're an agency owner, you probably maybe felt the same way. Maybe you've done things your whole life and you think, I don't want a normal job, and I don't even know how to function in a normal job. A 9-to-5, what is that? What does that even mean? I don't know. And so I felt what am I going to do with myself? What am I going to do with my life? My dream is over. It's not that I couldn't have an opera career in America, but it's a lot more difficult, right? Because it's just jobs are scarce. And I thought, no, I want to do something different. And so without knowing anything about marketing, and I'm sure a lot of agency owners feel this way as well, where you just get into it because you saw an ad or you bought a $9.97 course and you learned how to do it and you bought into this dream that you could make a lot of money and have financial freedom. Well, I'm right there with you. That's what I thought. I thought, you know what? This looks amazing. This looks like I could have freedom and I could build something for myself. And it was an opportunity to pivot, to reinvent myself into something different that I'd never done before. So I went all in and just took any single marketing job I could, oh, you do credit repair, I'll run ads for you. Oh, you do real estate, I'll run ads for you. Anyone I could find. Made a lot of mistakes, as one does. Ended up finding real estate and getting really into real estate. Was able to grow that business from 0 to 6 figures in 9 months and 0 paid ads. Not there's anything wrong with paid ads, but obviously I'm the PR queen. So I love organic and PR strategies. So that's what I did. Now I thought, again, I was at the height and oh, wow, I'm doing so well. And this is amazing. And then of course, COVID happens, right? And so I think a lot of people felt like they had to pivot, or maybe you're still listening to this and you still feel like maybe you need to pivot because your industry was impacted. If that's you, listen to this because this is relevant to you as well. So there I was, all of my, clients are now on pause or have left me. And I'm thinking, what the heck am I going to do? I don't even have money for paid ads. So I did what I'd always done as an opera singer. I started reaching out to editors, reaching out to journalists, because if you don't, you're singing for your supper. So if you don't get people to buy your music or get into the press, you're screwed. So I just used that into real estate. This is how I was able to get into the #1 real estate publication in the world, which is Inman News. They liked me so much, they asked me to be a brand ambassador and to speak on their stage to over 1,000 realtors. I was able to get into Realty 411, like all of these huge publications, like seemingly overnight, within like 2 months. And then my agency was back on track.
Now talk to me about that. Let me ask you a question. So to get into those publications, what does your pitch sound like? You're hitting them up and saying, hey, I want to be in your magazine. Why?
Well, and I will tell you why. And this leads into organic marketing, which is I'm a huge fan of, and it is my favorite way. A lot of times agency owners will send blast emails, blast Facebook messages, LinkedIn, whatever it is. And they think it's a numbers game. They think if I just send this one script out 1,000,000 times, I'll get something. And you will, but you mostly get shit. Okay. It's not about the number that you send out. It's about the quality of what you send. People are so tired of being pitched to. Even if you're sending Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram messages, if you're sending the same script over and over and over, they've heard it before. All the same scripts are going around. They've heard it before. You're not the first one to say, I can offer you 10 to 15 leads a week if you're interested. Reply yes or reply no if you want to be taken out. Like, guys, you need to be thinking outside the box. I've tried over 50 different scripts. And what I found works the best is a real human conversation with realtors. Right. And that goes across all the boards. And the same with PR. Why was I able to get into these huge publications? What was my pitch, so to speak? It was human interaction. It was, here is value. I'm providing value for you in your marketplace and not expecting anything in return. That's how business is done, guys. If you want to be in it for the long term, then you need to start establishing those relationships right now. That's how you're going to make it in this agency world, which is such a turn and burn, flash in the pan kind of thing. If you're looking for longevity and to make real wealth with your business, that's how it's done businesses. It's person to person human relationships.
Well, so can we go a little deeper on that? Because I feel like everybody hears that all the time. You need to deliver value. But what does that mean? Like, let's literally break it down. Like you're like, okay, I'm going to be a marketing agency for realtors. So then you're thinking, okay, well, where do realtors find authority? In these publications, right? Okay, so here's a good one. I know most realtors read this. If I can get in there. So now you reach out to that publication and you're like, hey, I want to be featured in your publication. I want to deliver value, but like, can you give us an example? Like, what is the value? Like how do you differentiate your value pitch, I guess is what I'm getting at.
Yes. And Chase, you already said the wrong thing. So I'm going to point that out because that's really important that a lot of people say. So what you said multiple times was, how can I provide value? What can I do to get into this publication? I, right? And this is what a lot of marketers do is they think about what's in it for me, even though, and this is a buzzword, it's like, I want to provide massive value. BS. You want to get sales. Like, don't lie.
Right. The goal is that I want to get in your publication.
Yeah. Okay, so what I want you to do is think about, and this is an actionable step, right? So if you're listening to this, take notes. I'm going to be very clear about what you need to do. First of all, treat these editors like human beings. Treat your leads like human beings. They are not leads. They are potential customers that you can serve, that you have the ability to serve, right? Okay, so that's the first thing. Two, when you are pitching, I like to call it establishing a relationship. There's so much that goes into it. Before I pitch, I will follow them on Twitter and I will like and retweet and comment on their stuff before I even think about sending them a message asking for something. Because what that's doing, that's not me just talking. That's not me just saying, oh, I want to provide value. No, that's me actually taking massive action and actually providing value before I even talk to them. Okay, guys, it's not about what's in it for you. It's about what's in it for them. And it's provide not talking about value, but actually doing the doing. So here's a little tip. If you're not on Twitter, you need to be, especially if you want to get in front of these editors, because that is their social media platform of choice. Very important, guys. We talk about this all the time in the marketing world. Where does your audience live? Which platform? Do they like Facebook? Do they like LinkedIn? Or they're better on Instagram? Well, for writers, guys, that's Twitter. That's their platform. Sure. You can't expect them to come to you. You have to go to where they're hanging out. They hang out on Twitter. So first things first is provide value to them, retweet their stuff, like their stuff, comment on their articles, right? Now what you want to do is send them a message. Not I want to do I. No. You need to say, your work is amazing. I love the tone of your articles. I love that your audience really seems to resonate when you talk about real estate marketing. I especially loved your article when you talked about the 5 tips that you need to do in 2021 to be an amazing realtor. That really resonated with me. I know that your audience likes real estate marketing. And I would love to provide a value piece for you and your audience that would really resonate. What does that do? One, you're just talking about them. You've shown that you've done your research. You've shown that you've read their articles. You know what their audience wants, because at the end of the day, they just need to serve their audience. And you're showing that you're helping them and their audience. You say that, and then you give value. You don't say, write a profile piece about me about how great my agency is and everyone needs to give me their money. No one's going to read that piece, and no one's going to publish that piece ever, ever, ever. That's not what happens. What you want is an advice piece, a thought leadership piece. Maybe you write a piece that are, the top 3 tips that you need to know about marketing, or the top 3 tips that people get wrong about Facebook ads, running their own Facebook ads and real estate marketing. And then you break it down of like, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. And then maybe at the very end you say, that's why, me at my agency, we've seen agents, do this. This is why we've added an ISA service so that they're not just getting crappy leads, something where you're alluding to it, but at the same time, you're just giving straight value. And then what do you do in your bio? Then you can pitch, right? If you found this interesting and helpful, I've been able to help dozens of agency owners 10 times their ROI. Click on this link. What's going to happen there? One, you led with value, so you're most likely to get into that publication, or more likely to get into that publication. Number 2, when somebody reads that piece, they don't think you're a slimy salesman. They don't think that at all. They think, wow, this is so helpful. How can I find out more? They're going to click on that link and book a call with you. So that leads to step 3, which means you don't have to sell them. This is a lead that is already sold on working with you. The article was proof enough. It has shown them that you're an expert and that you are in a publication that they care about, that is credible to them in their specific industry. The selling is done. If they booked a call from reading an article, it's sold. It is yours for the taking. This is why I always believe in quality over quantity. Do I spend all this time doing all the, no, I don't. I only get, like, my sales guys, they don't have, 100 appointments. Everyone's always telling, I can get you, 50 to 100 appointments on your calendar. Who cares if they're not quality? What's just a waste of your time? Why would you want 100 appointments? Me and my sales guys, we always say, I'd rather you have 5 appointments for the week and you close every single 5 of them than I give you 100. And you're struggling and you're looking and you're calling and you're following up and some are falling through the cracks. Why would you want that? It's not quantity, guys. It's quality.
Yeah, so I think you really illustrated what I would agree with. And sorry, my dog just started snoring, so I've been trying to mute myself. I don't know if you can hear that, but so I think in my experience, and let me know if you agree, when I do take the time to create a quality offering, it's actually received at a much higher rate than I would expect. Mm-hmm. So it's like when you, and that I think is the hardest part, right? Is like, okay, once you've identified the target, it's creating that thing of value. And that's where the magic happens, right? It's like, oh man, they did this piece on this, but I actually disagree with that, or I see a different angle, or whatever it is. And then you come up with the thing, and then you're like, hey, been following you on Twitter, like you said, I really loved that one piece. It got me thinking about this. So I created this, like however you pitch it. When you do have something of value to pitch, I'm always surprised at how easy the yes comes.
Yes.
Because, correct me if I'm wrong, but publications are constantly looking for content, right? Like it's a game of never ending content. So if you come to them with something great, I've found it's actually really easy to get it pushed through.
Yeah. And they're very grateful, but they want to be treated like human beings. They don't want you to send them a message saying, I wrote this article, you should publish it in your magazine. Because then it sounds like you copy and pasted it, and they can tell if they get pitches all the time. They can tell if this is a copy and paste that you sent to 10 other real estate publications, right? No,
right, yeah, of course.
They're gonna delete it because they get so many pitches.
Well, one thing that you got me thinking about was if you are already an agency and you already work with customers, one thing that works really well is doing internal reports and polling. So it's like you have data, you have a source of data that you can then create content around that publications are interested in, because it's like, oh, of the X amount of realtors that we work with, 90% are seeing this trend. Things like that. Like, I'm just trying to give the audience ideas of how you get creative around creating value, other than like, hey, I want to be featured in your publication. It's like, that's not going to work. And
sometimes just being humble and asking for help is the best thing that you can do, because I would like to put the humanity back into business. Obviously, I'm in PR now, and so relationships is my bread and butter. That's all I do all day is make relationships with different people, and I love it. It's so awesome. Like, to me, it's my dream job. I just get to talk to people, right? Of course, there's more work that goes into that, but to tell you the truth, how I got into Inman, which is the number one real estate publication. If you're listening to this, like, listen, this is huge because they do, as you know, they do not accept anyone into this huge publication. It was so crazy. I wasn't even trying. So I, as marketers, we send out all of these Facebook messages to different, like, if you're chiro, you send them to chiropractors. If you're real estate, you send them to realtors. So that's what my VA does. I don't even really look at those messages a lot of the times. Well, one of them had responded that I had written a lead magnet of like how to thrive in real estate during the coronavirus was my lead magnet. And it was a free resource. And I wrote this entire, like, I don't know, 5-page article about different tips that they could do, how they could get through this coronavirus. This is when it just hit. So it was really popular. Like, we had like 1,000 downloads. It was really, really popular. And it was like on my front and center, my profile funnel. So again, guys, profile funnels and lead magnets, that's value, 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 value. Well, this agent just said, hey, just want to let you know, like, not really interested in your services, but thank you for providing this value to our community. Because I read your article, I read it, and it was actually really beneficial. And you actually took the time to really break down the steps of what we could be doing. And I found it helpful. He sent this back to me. I don't know who this guy is, right? I email him back personally, right? And I say, thank you so much. That means so much to me. And just to get your humble opinion, I'm just a lowly marketer, and this is just from what I've seen. And I'm so glad that you got value out of it. But, you're someone who's actually in the real estate community. You're living it day to day. What does it really feel like to you? Like, what are you going through right now as a realtor? And he opened up and was like, well, you know what? It's hard. And I actually have a brokerage, and, I'm handling it this way with my agents, blah, blah. And I said, thank you so much for giving me that, because it helps me understand, like, where my clientele's coming from. How are they feeling? What are their hopes? What are their dreams? What are they worried about? Because this makes me better as a marketer and makes me better serve them. He loved that so much. He didn't ask him at all. He said, I really appreciate you, that you actually care about me and the industry and that the agents in this industry. I would like to introduce you to the head editor of Inman. Didn't know this guy was like number one selling. I didn't know any of that. And he offered it. And that's how I got into Inman. You can't just get in, and so
that's great.
So where did this come from, guys? And you may think, oh, that was serendipitous and that doesn't happen all the time. Yes, it does. The more value you give, guys, the more that you go out of your way to just know who you're serving, the better that you're going to get back in return. Really, it is that way. You give and you get it back. So please, if whatever it is, your agency, reach out to these people, get to know them on an intimate level. They will open doors for you that you can never open yourself from just paid ads.
Well, so speaking of paid ads, we did an interview with Qasim a couple of days ago, and he's a big PPC authority expert. And he said something that I really agree with, which is basically like Google is getting so good and Facebook are getting so good that running ads is basically going to be a commodity at some point. And so he mentioned he loves branding, because in the end, I think he and I both agree that's what's going to win, right? In a world where anybody can run a successful ad because Google's algorithm will perfectly deliver it to the right audience, the prices are just going to go up. Everybody can do it. It's sort of going to become a commodity. And in the end, it's going to be who does the best branding that actually wins the business. Tell me, you mentioned personal branding and leveraging that. And I think personal branding has become sort of a buzz term. You hear people like Gary Vee talking about it. I mean, I think he's a shining example of somebody who's built an incredible personal brand. How does one just start on the path of like, you know what, I'm going to build a personal brand and then I'm going to leverage it for, my specific goals?
Yes. So I want to speak to this on two different levels. I want to speak to it on the level for newbies. So if you're listening to this is going to be for you too. This isn't just for the big names, right? And then I also want to speak to it on the different levels. So people who are making considerable amounts of money in their agency who want to level up, I'll speak to you as well. This will be beneficial to both. So let's talk to the newbies first. If you're just starting out, maybe you don't have a lot of testimonials or maybe no testimonials. And maybe you hear that objection a lot of like, why should I go with you? Like literally I have 10 pitches in my email from marketers just like you. And you're thinking like, Yeah, why should they go with me? We all basically do the same thing, right? This is where the power of your personal brand is going to come in. And you guys can do it. It's very, very easy. All you have to do is just get into a couple of publications and provide value. Really not that hard. Start with your local paper. Start with a press release, get some logos, right? Not that hard, guys. A local paper goes a long way, especially if you're a local business, not that hard. And what I mean by authority, it's very simple, guys. Just start with a profile funnel. Just start with like a cover banner where you say, this is my logo. I help X do X, right? Your refined marketing statement, your RMS. You guys should know what that is if you're in Go High Level, right? So just put your refined marketing statement with your logo, give it authority, do the 80-20 rule. So 80% of the time, you're posting personal memes, your dog, whatever. 20% of the time you're posting business. You only get 3 seconds to impress your clientele who comes to your Facebook or whatever page. Okay, so make sure that they're not scrolling more than 3 seconds before they know exactly what it is you do. Start with videos. Video content is huge these days. Almost all my ads are videos. I don't know if you've seen any of my ads, but they're almost all videos because those convert so well. So just provide value. Even if you're just starting out, one step above chiropractors, for example, or realtors, right? They don't know about marketing, but you do. Even if you know a little bit, you still know one step more. Make videos, provide content. That's how you're going to start becoming an industry leader. Now that's personal branding for step one. Do you have a question, please?
No, I was going to interject because you said something that I absolutely love, which was you mentioned Twitter. And I feel like that people don't realize if you want to become an authority, just start following the authorities in your space on Twitter. And it is like it's a free education. And it's also just free elbow rubbing, and like your face starts getting seen in the industry by the leaders. I feel like Twitter, you're dead on, and I'm with you right there. Like if you want to become a personal brand or a thought leader or an influencer of any sort, like you have to be on Twitter. And it just starts by just following the right people, right? And just commenting on the right stuff with insightful comments. And I feel like that's a huge tip and a huge missed opportunity if you're not. I'm always shocked when I talk to colleagues and stuff and they're not on Twitter. I'm like, what? That's where all the magic happens for me.
That's where a lot of big influencers are. And I'm telling you right now, that's where they like to hang out. They like to tweet their little words of wisdom, nuggets of wisdom. So be following them, guys. Just start small. If you're a newbie, just start small. Make a profile funnel, get a Twitter profile, get your LinkedIn, your stuff going on, right? And just start small. But the most important thing is get that profile funnel and get some small press going. Provide real value. Now, the second thing I want to talk about is to people who are making some money, right? You're 20, 30, 50 plus a month in your agency, and you're thinking, yeah. Now, this is for you. PR is, if you haven't started yet, what the heck? You are so behind. If you're already making at least 20K, what are you doing? Right? Guys, I would like you to think of your agency as a business, and think about it for longevity. I feel like a lot of agency owners, they think, I'm just going to make some money really quick. I'll get up to 50K and then I'll be set and I'll be good. Guys, please don't think about it that way. Like you have a lot of life to live. You have like 60, 70, years left of your life. Please don't think like you're going to make 50K a month and then you're going to be okay to your 100. Like I want you to start thinking about this as a business and think about your longevity and what kind of legacy you want to leave for yourself, for your name, for your family. When you think about it that way, you're thinking like an industry leader. And now you're ready for marketing, and now you're ready for the power of your personal brand. Okay? Everyone wants to be the next Gary Vee, but nobody wants to do the work. Everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die, right? As the saying goes. Okay. Well, guys, it's time to put in the work. Once you're making this much money, you're an industry leader, you have something valuable to say, you can get into big publications. You got to start small, of course. You have to start industry specific, but then you can work your way into big publications. Having that name power is going to be the thing that separates you from everybody else. Okay. Because at the end of the day, let's say you're even doing a coaching program or an agency. There are tons of real estate marketing agencies out there, like tons. Why should they go with you and not someone else? Here's the thing, guys. If you were to buy a pair of shoes, $50 pair of shoes, Converse or something, Nike, you are on Google researching, where should I buy it? Where's the cheapest? Which brand should I buy? Should I buy the Nike Zoom or the Plus or the Air, the next percent, right? You're on it. It's like $50. If you're doing that for a $50 pair of shoes, What do you think your clients are doing for your $1,000+ program? They're researching you. If you're not coming up on Google, if they research you and the only thing they see is your website, you tooting your own horn, you and your mom, the review that she wrote for you, I'm sorry, that's not going to cut it. You're a big boy now. Congratulations. You're in the real world. This is how it goes. If you're Googling someone and they see your competitors because your competitors show up for your keywords, guess what? Your competitor is getting the deal and you aren't. And when you're at that level, guys, when you're at that 20, 30 plus level, you need to be thinking about these things. If you want to dominate your market and have that market share, and you're not coming up on the first page of Google, you're not a market leader. You're not an authority. I don't care how many ClickFunnels awards you have. Someone else is going to get the deal because you didn't do the work of establishing your personal brand. That's why it's so
to
important.
clarify, I think that's a great point. And I think what you're saying, just to make it really clear, when you start doing PR and you do start getting featured in publications, and then you have, like you said, your personal funnel, all those things will rank organically, right? So then if you typed in my name, you would see like I would pop up as my post on something else. And so it's like, oh, wow, this guy was featured in the Wall Street Journal, or this guy was on that publication, and there's his website, and there's his personal website, and there's, you know, his agency's LinkedIn and all that kind of stuff. So that's really interesting. Sort of dominating the SERP is what we used to call it for,
Yes.
Especially for people who rank for negative things. It's like you want to push that stuff out of the way with better stuff.
Yes.
But so that's interesting. Like, how much do you would, let's say I'm an agency owner and I am doing 50K a month in my agency, and I come to you and I'm like, this makes total sense. What do you tell me, like how much of my time or my day or my week should I be sectioning off to focus on getting featured in other places for PR type of work?
Well, obviously, if you hire me, you don't have to do anything, right? We have a done for you service. So you just sit back and get featured in all these places. We also have a coaching program. And so I think you're referring to that. So we'll teach you how to do your own PR as well. And with that, I just tell the agency owner, just give me your VA. We train their VAs for them. You know, I don't want as an owner myself, as a CEO, I understand how important time is. Time is money. Our time is our most precious commodity. Maybe we don't have time to be on Twitter every day following and liking all these accounts and whatever, even though that is so important. Like, do not do PR unless you establish that relationship first, right, with the person you're pitching. But as an agency owner, you don't have time. You're trying to figure out Clubhouse. You're trying to figure out, you know, responding to the, like, you have so much going on. I get that. You can have a VA do these little tasks for you. We actually teach that in my course of like, have your VA make a Twitter list of the editors you want to pitch, have your VA comment and like for a week, and then write a pitch and have your VA send it. And if there's a positive reply, have her forward it to you. Done. It should not take that much time. It takes a little bit of careful planning, a little bit of training your VA, which you're going to do anyway if you do organic. Just see this as another part of organic, right? But this is even better. So many people, they'll put in like $10,000 in paid ads, but at the end of it, you have zero, you have nothing. You put the same amount into PR. That's the gift that keeps on giving, because anytime someone Googles you, that stays there forever. That's on the internet forever. And you can use those logos you get in for life, for all of your funnels. Every social media post, every email you send out, you know, every website that you create, you can add those logos. You have that authority for life.
So talk to me about, once you do get a win, how do you leverage it to get a bigger win?
Absolutely. I teach masterclasses about this all the time because it's a snowball effect. Nobody cares that you were, you know, in Forbes 3 years ago. That's old news. No editor is going to be excited about that. They're not going to pick it up. They're like, yeah, you're only as good as your next show, is what they say in the showbiz, right? You're only as good as your next article, right? You need to be relevant. People love, you know, FOMO. Why does everybody care about Clubhouse right now? Only because everybody else cares about Clubhouse. You know, who knows what's going to, in the next 3 months, maybe nobody will care about it at all. You know, it's just this FOMO thing. It's the same with editors and journalists, right? So if let's say you get in, you know, Adweek, huge, right? You want to say that immediately to other editors so that you can get into more publications. Like, I was just in Adweek, I was in Adweek 3 years ago. Not going to work. Not going to work. What an editor loves is like, oh, wow, he's hot right now. This guy obviously has something really important to say right now. What's his next article? What's he writing about now? What's he writing about that's so good that Adweek's in it that I didn't get in it? Now they have FOMO. It's like, I want to be on this too. Where he was just in Yahoo Finance. What did he say in Yahoo Finance that made them want to pick him up? I want to get into that too. So it's so important. Once you get even small press, guys, leverage that to get into bigger and bigger publications. Start local. Start getting into your local paper. then get into your local magazine, then get into an industry specific, then go after the big dogs, right? And as you're doing that, don't forget to add podcasts in that mix as well. Because don't forget, Google is a mixture of video, they have podcasts, they have audio, they have socials, they have articles. Everything pops up on that first page. So don't underestimate the power of podcasts. I want that to pop up as well when people search for you. People consume media differently. Make sure that you're showing up in every way people like to consume media. That's like for me and my agency, when we have 12 publications guaranteed, it's always a mixture between podcasts, thought leadership pieces, profile pieces, big logo to bigger publications, because you need to have that mix. You can't just focus on one specific thing. We're building industry leaders here. So let's make sure that you're found everywhere.
Yeah, that makes sense. So before we wrap up, I want to cover one other nugget that I think everyone will appreciate. And you had mentioned, so, okay, let's say that you get your organic social going, right? You get into Twitter, you get in Instagram, you become active, you're following people, you're commenting, da, 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 da. You mentioned a way of leveraging that for free leads. Everybody loves the idea of free leads. So talk to me about what you like to do as far as leveraging organic social for free leads.
What I like to do is leverage other people's audiences who have more authority than I do, right? So if I get into a podcast somewhere, for example, or I get featured in a big magazine, I tag that person. I tag their company in my picture, so that it also tags them in the picture, also in the actual post itself. This way, not only does it show up on my, profile for my audience, but it shows up on theirs because they were tagged. So it shows up on their newsfeed that your friend or this page that you follow was tagged in this post, right? Now I'm leveraging their authority and they're commenting on it because they love this big figure, like this big podcast or this article or whatever. They love that. So they want to check it out. So then they end up following me and sending me messages. And another tidbit, so this is how you get free leads. And another tidbit to do is anytime that you're on a podcast, for example, the most important thing is just to say how to get in contact with you, and tell people that it's okay to get in contact with you. I think a lot of times there's like this wall of like, oh, I'm a business and, blah, blah, blah. But no, make sure that people know that you're a human being, and they want to interact with human beings and that you're accessible. That's the biggest thing is some people feel like, oh, well, I heard her on a podcast, but I don't know if I can contact her. Make sure that people know that they can contact you guys. Like that's why you're on the podcast. Make sure you don't get so carried away with your own story and your own ego. Make sure you understand why you're there, to provide value to your audience and make sure that they feel comfortable getting in contact with you.
Well, so speaking of getting in contact, for those that are watching that are like, oh man, I really need to start doing some PR. You mentioned that you've got a coaching program. How do people find you? What's the best place to get in contact with you?
Well, thank you, Chase. So of course you can check out my website and that's victoriaspr.com. But again, we have a completely done for you program as for, more of the agency owners. And we also have a coaching program if that's where you're at as well. I love, as I said, connecting human to human. And I'm sure maybe a lot of you have already gotten messages from me. I want to connect with you. Like, send me a message if you've listened to this, you found value, you have a question. I'm always down to answer questions to help out as much as I possibly can and provide that value. So send me a message on Facebook, don't be a stranger. I also want to gift you guys with a free guide that I created, which is 5 steps on how to get published in top publications. So if you listen to this and you feel inspired, you want to take action, you want to learn how to get into those, Business Insider, Forbes, Entrepreneur, I have made a guide to show you how to do that. So I believe Chase will be putting it into the notes. So go ahead and click on that and feel free to download.
Awesome. I love it. And I love when you pointed out the serendipity that often happens just through connections. So thanks for being so accessible and thanks for coming on the show, Victoria.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks everybody for watching. We will see you in the next one.